Seeing the live.
Welcome,
everybody. Welcome. Good morning, good evening, and good night, wherever you are. I'm Joan Kennedy, from Joan Kennedy Artist, and you are?
I am Renate Roske-Shelton. I come to you from Atlantic Canada, Back Bay, New Brunswick.
Wow, fantastic. And I am so excited today, Renate, because you and I are part of the Bloomz group, which is this fantastic group of artists who we've all come together. And I'm really excited because I want to find out more about your art and just more about you, really. And I thought, today I'll interview you, and you never know, if there's any time, you can maybe interview.
It'll be your turn too, Joan.
No. I'm far more of a nosy artist than call me a nosy artist. I love to find out about people and find out about everything to do with their life, really. So you're originally from Germany.
That's correct. That's why I still have this accent. I originally came to the United States first and spent about 30 years there, and then moved up to Canada. And I've been here for about 10 years.
Wow. I mean, your English is just phenomenal. It's just so fantastic. Well, it's brilliant.
It does help not to speak my mother tongue at home. So I've never had a spouse or people around me that spoke German. So I had to, really go in depth into English. And then most of my university training and all of that was in English.
In English, so, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Just before we carry on, I just see Sammy, who is also one of our wonderful artists, has just said hello. So hi, Sammy. Thank you for popping on. Sammy is another amazing artist in our group, and I'm so proud to have you guys in my world. So I just thought I'd just mention about Sammy. But so what age were you when you left Germany to move to America?
I was 18.
Okay.
I just finished school and started university, and my parents were quite authoritarian, and I wanted to see the world, and so I took off. And I financed my own trip and did summer jobs, and I wanted to see more of the world. So this started my journey. But It's a long story, and I don't really think we're going to go there. I'm not sure how it impacted me as an artist. It's part of my personal story, but it's not really in large part part of my artist journey. Other than at the time I decided I needed to earn money. And so art was not an option. Also, I didn't really have artists in my family, but we were very much art appreciation in the family. There was music, lots of music, and so it was part of the general education. And then, of course, growing up in Europe, we got to see a lot of museums and this kind of thing. So I was always exposed through my parents to some cultural aspects, classical music, museums, and this kind of thing. So that was a great connection. That's the art connection.
I do think you'd be surprised how there is connections there. Probably you don't even realize. I mean, do you think German art is it very different? I mean, I don't know much about German art. Is it different to the sort of art you do, or do you think you bring part of that heritage with you into your art?
Well, the whole when I got asked as a child, what kind of art you like, and so it's really truly what you're exposed to. And so at the time, you know, the Impressionists, this is 50s, 60s, the Impressionists were definitely what was known as sort of European art. Uh, German art had, like Germany itself, has this mixed history of artistic expression being suppressed. You know, certain types of art were desired. Um, Art as a political device, more or less, was being used. And so there's all of that history. I think just from, you know, little that I knew, it was really the Impressionists and what are now called some of the Expressionists. Particularly, I did like Picasso. When I grew up, it was very, I mean, everybody did. But what I related to, I found this book in a library that had all his linoleum cuts. And these are sort of printing. And that was something I could relate to because we did linoleum cutting in art class. And
Okay.
I was really admiring that. And so you had this very stark contrast. And then Gauguin was another one. I always, you know, this is part of my personality. I'm sort of going with the underdog, the difficult person, you know, the one that's different from the rest, basically. But yeah, and you know, nowadays the whole art scene is such a diverse thing. I would not dare to talk about it because I'm really not qualified in any academic way to talk about it. But there's a lot of interesting contemporary art. Art has become such an international platform as well. Uh, was then too, but it's not exclusive to the hoity-toity crowd anymore. It's art is very approachable, and there's a lot of homegrown and local artists, and it is amazing, really, that art as a activity has really flourished, particularly among women as well. And there's the whole art history where women in art were used to, you know, were seen as something that you did in retirement or, you know, as a nice thing for decoration, much like knitting. It wasn't really viewed, and the whole world was much more of a male chauvinistic kind of where museums, you know, it used to be you saw very few women artists anymore. It's all the male, just like your textbooks and everything, all sort of the big models of people having achieved things, except for some few exceptions. Um, and rebels, basically, in society as well. It was mostly male artists. So I think that the whole thing is changing, and there are some cultural styles. I think, you know, if we think about Asian art, or we think about Oriental art. You know, the colors are different, styles are different. It's a whole different thing. But in terms of Western art culture, uh, but I just, you know, I paint, and so that's what I do. I
Well,
am calling.
yeah, I was just going to ask you about your painting, really, just to go on to that, because can you just let people have a bit of an awareness, really, of what you do, as in what you do? You paint with acrylic? Is it acrylic paint, and you do it on board, or what's your tools of preference, basically?
Well, when I do paint, I started in watercolors. And so for me, really, painting was a way of journaling things that I saw around me in my travels or whatever. And I thought that was kind of neat. Yes, you could take a photograph, but I liked the colorful aspects and the sort of meditative quality of sitting down and creating something handmade. Um, I now, at the moment, I'm working on a series in acrylic paints. Um, and so, you know, I have tubes of paint all around me. I actually have it stored in my studio by stations. I have acrylics, I have inks, I have oils. I dabble in all media, but I try to pick whatever, is fitting for either the subject or the mood I'm in.
Yeah,
And
I was going to say.
acrylic dries really fast, so it's very forgiving for mistakes. So it lends itself to being exploratory, and you can, paint and then go over it and start anew. And I paint on panels. I'll show you just a painting here that I've recently done. And these, incidentally, it's a series of sort of nighttime paintings. I'm going in the wrong direction. But
Can you explain panels? Because I know a lot of people, probably viewers here. We as you know, we want to let people everywhere know about our art, and some people wouldn't understand about a panel. Is that a piece of wood, or is it what is that piece of wood that you buy, or something you've made yourself?
It's actually something I buy. I'm not a woodworker. I could make it myself, but I don't want to spend my time that way.
Yeah.
I'm very much concentrating on just creating the thing. Now, as you see, there is a plaque surround on this. So this is actually a linen panel that has been gessoed with plaque paint. A gesso is a way of preparing the linen. It's basically a ground paint. And then, you just paint. It's a different technique and style of painting. It's like carving out into the plaque.
Okay.
So I'm putting my colors in there, and I used to in watercolors just to get a similar look. I used to paint on white paper, and then I would use Plaque ink to outline things.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I'm basically achieving the same effect, although some of the plaqueness of the gesso leaches through, and so you get this overall darker color impression.
It's beautiful.
Artists use some kind of a ground, like you could have a red background and it makes it warmer. A lot of people use that technique. Unlike watercolors, where you really only have one go at it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Tell me about it. Just to stop you, Renate, just for a second, because we're just getting loads of comments coming in. Just wanted to say hi to Fiona and Stephanie, who are also part of our wonderful art group. Stephanie is saying, Renate, that they're beautiful colours. Absolutely, I agree with her there. Sammy is agreeing with you. She says about, yes, women and art become a force within the art world. And I, just pulling up on that comment that Sammy's saying, I remember somewhere hearing how it's either in Italy or in France, I'm not sure which country, how apparently there was women artists, this is going back in the last century, amazing women artists, I'm sure it's Italy, who created all these wonderful hundreds and hundreds of paintings, but because they were women, they didn't want to allow that to be seen. So all these paintings have been hidden away until recently, until the last sort of 4 years, where they've come out now and they said, you know what, actually women paint just like men do. So yeah, it didn't happen. It was just kept very quiet.
Yeah, I actually firmly believe there's quite a difference between male artists and female artists in their purest forms. They use different colors. I can actually almost tell if it's done by a male artist, or it's also the interest and the subject matter is quite different. So I think you definitely need both. So.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think what I've found in my previous business, where I've been, the past 19 years teaching babies and toddlers through music, I've spent the last 19 years just researching, learning about the brain, learning about, what makes us human in a way. And what was just amazing, and I've even experienced it, how the difference between men and women, and it goes right back to 2-year-olds, because I'd have all the instruments out and we would be, singing our heart's content. And what was so interesting was that the women, the 2-year-old, 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 4-year-old women, they would be grabbing, you know, the tambourines and going, yeah, come on, let's sing, you know. And the young, you know, the very young boys, they'd be actually looking at the tambourine thinking, I wonder how this is made. And it's, you can just see it from, you know, from just, it's so young.
Well,
that how the difference between them. And the other thing that I would do would be I would be challenging the families, because we'd be singing about something to do with boats maybe, and I'd say, okay, you have to bring a boat next week, and any of the dads would go and make a boat and they would come in and it would be perfect, and the mums would turn up and it'd be a washing basket or something. So I totally relate to what you're saying about how men probably paint one way and women paint, you can almost tell the difference. It's not, you know, it's not right, not wrong. It's just different.
I mean, it's not always, you know, the case, but overall, in the reams of artists, I think one can pretty much decide or see some of the gender reflections. So age, I think, is an interesting element in art. You know, age of the artist. Similarly in music, or there's a certain, you know, maturity or wisdom. Occasionally, when you have the, you know, prodigies, you get it totally divorced from age, and you know, it's super complicated and mature, actually, what a young person might produce. But everybody's on their different level journey. I think there's crossovers as well, you know, where you might become more interested. I, for example, in my profession, I choose a very male profession.
Oh yeah.
Classically male profession in engineering. I love mathematics. You know, that. It was a utilitarian thing as well, in terms of just my everyday, since my English wasn't perfect yet. I thought, well, math would be easy. You know, we speak the same language. And so some of the choices I made in terms of coursework and classes, it turned out all very well at the end, but I did out of these very sort of basic decisions and considerations.
Yeah. Just looking at the comments, Stephanie says, celebrate the difference. Absolutely, Stephanie. What a great way to think about it. And you know, celebrating not only the difference between men painting and women painting, but even within artists, even all female artists, how I think that's what the really nice thing is about the Bloomz, is how we are all very different, even though, like, I'm a watercolor artist and there's another watercolor artist, as in Cindy in the group, but you know, we're different. And I think if people come and see us, because we're having a show coming up, yay, which in the details will be put in our Facebook group or on the page, and then they can come and they can see us, like come to your studio, come to mine, visually, and see the sort of work that we're doing. So have you got, Renate, have you got any work there that you want to show people that is or are you going to keep it really quiet and they have to turn up and see on the night or the day?
I'm going to show some of my new series, which is sort of a fantasy series. It's also influenced by more nocturnal paintings, meaning artificial or nighttime light, moonlight. It's just something that I started when the new year happened, and I'm hoping to actually paint about 2 more paintings and sort of at least have a series of 5. I've got 2 of them right now, well, actually 3 of them.
Okay. While you do that, I'm just going to say hello to Anne-Marie. Again, another wonderful artist people have to see. And Stephanie has just put down the details, which is it's a small w, but www.thebloomz.co.uk. So that's where everyone can go and grab a ticket while they can. Yeah, sorry, Renate, you
all right. It's actually, I want to also mention at this point, we should mention the dates which is the 29th and the 30th, I believe, of January, right? It's all written on the website, but
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
The tickets are free. It's just a way of registering and us to provide a list of folks that can be there at the set at one time. We are limited in the hundreds of numbers, but there's a waiting list potentially. And so you want to register early. And so if you can take some time away, but the way it works, the show is actually you'll be coming into a Zoom-like setting in the room, and then you have a chance to indicate which artist you want to go to first. And you might come and you would see me the same way as this view right now, and we can talk and you can ask about paintings or anything that's on your mind, and I can show you some of my artwork. There are reels, that we have beforehand if there's something you like to see, and we can talk. And it's a great opportunity for all of us artists to meet you, but also for you to ask us questions. You don't have to go through a crowd. We're right there. And we
never know, there might be a crowd. Yeah. I mean, I think the one thing just to mention as well, Renate, is that people don't even have to speak to us, because, there are people, desperately shy people out there. I used to meet them from parents in my groups who would just be so shy. And at least they can actually come and have a peek and just, they don't need to get into deep conversation about art. If they want to, they can, but they can just message us. And I think that's what we found, isn't it? Because this is not our first time. This is our second amazing show that we're having this time. And I think more than ever, the world needs color, and they need some beautiful images to, I think it's a great way, isn't it? Really, when you think about it, you can just sit at home and have a glass of kind of a hot cup of tea, in my case, or have a glass of wine, and have a nose and see what next piece of art you're going to stick on your wall.
Right, and the feedback that we got all from the first time was just wonderful and brilliant, and people found it extremely entertaining. And both the visitors and the artists were surprised at how quickly it went by, and how interesting that experience actually was. So
that's yes. It. It's an experience, isn't it? Because I think it takes about 2 hours, really. It's an actual experience, not just something that you're going to hop on for 2 minutes and then go. So yeah. So that's sorry, Renate, you were just showing us that painting is available. You're going to be showing that to people.
That's right.
That's beautiful. I love the colors.
It's pretty wild, and it's sort of from my imagination. I have this whole series that I call an ever after fantasy series, where things appear. And right now, with winter here in Canada, the world is pretty much a lot of black and white and gray, and we don't have a lot of sunshine, but we do have amazing night skies. And I belong to a group that is an interest group in astronomy, and there's a lot of things happening right now. For example, this one is I just called the Dance of the Giants, pulling up the moon. And there is a Dance of the Giants happening right now in our night skies with Mercury, Saturn, and Jupiter. This is a constellation that can be seen right now in the winter time. So anyway, I don't want to, I guess to just sort of close on me, and then I want to ask you some questions.
Okay, don't worry.
Very colorful art. I paint a lot of what I see around me in the environment. In the summer, I go out plein air painting. And so there's ships, there's boats, there are whales that show up, even though they're flying in the air.
That must be so amazing. Because just to say, isn't where your studio is, if you were to turn it around, do you look straight out into the sea? Can you see from where you are?
It's actually the Bay of Fundy. And I don't see a way to turn this around since
It's
I'm in
okay. Yeah, it's okay.
studio,
You can just describe it.
but
Yeah.
it's, and there's boats going out there. There's still lobstering out there. So this is a fishing village, a working fishing village.
God.
And it's just very nice. But I am exposed to the elements, and everything is very bright, and so in the winter I need color. So I create this in my studio. But
I
the
love
solid,
these colors. I think, yeah, that's what I really love about your work is the colors. They're just so vibrant that you use. I mean, I do see that a lot of your work, from what I can see, are these little houses. So are these the type of the houses? It's a fishing village where you seem to be drawn to painting your local scenery. Is that correct?
I like the architectural elements, and houses, and these are kind of tracks of civilization, so to speak. And Canada, and this beauty, and the Bay of Fundy, huge. Nature is huge. The
Wow.
distance is tremendous. The skies are just huge as well, and immense. And so when you see a little shed, or people actually built these working sheds right on the water, they float, where they keep their
What?
gear.
They don't.
They keep their gear, and I think on the weekend sometimes the young guys will go have a bottle of booze there or something, or, and smoke, of all things. But it's still that way around here, and it's just an interesting subject matter. Also, because New Brunswick is actually quite a impoverished province for Canada, although we're bordering Ontario and
Mm.
Quebec on the western side. It's the wealthy, rich, most populated provinces of Canada.
Okay.
Um, People don't have a lot of money here, so they paint their houses with whatever, and boats with whatever paints they have. So
Mm.
you end up with these very colorful collages of sheds. And of course, it looks wonderful to me as an artist. And so I'm
Yeah.
using the same bright colors that are unique to this area. That only It's been this way for about 20 years, on and off, same kind of reds and a certain green and somewhat turquoise. The
Mm.
colors around here, that's must be all that they have in the hardware store. But
Wow.
of late, people have been getting a lot more inventive. There's certain bright yellows,
Yeah.
and I've seen an occasional bright red, and with Plaque contrast. So it's quite interesting. People get very daring occasionally here. So
Wow. Yeah. So
anyway,
your neighbor is your neighbor, your next door neighbor. How far are they, or can you walk to them, or are you in the middle of nowhere, or is there in this village, is there people that live
I'm
close
on
to you?
I'm on a very small piece of property, so I'm actually between the Bay of Fundy and the village, so to speak, itself. Now, there's
Mm.
no street, there's basically a loop where houses are around, and that's the village. We have a post office, there's
Mm.
no other stores. There used to be a little grocery, but it's no longer. And
Mm.
then we get traffic that edges on the town, that comes from the ferry and a neighboring island, where there's also a
Wow.
whole fishing culture and places. So, and then we all basically, the islanders and us back bay people, we go about half an hour to the grocery store. The
Oh.
next,
Just
so,
check that there might be a message. Bear with me 1 second. No, we're okay. Sorry,
good.
I just wasn't sure if the message is coming in, but yeah, carry on. Sorry, Renate.
So I think that's all I want to say at this time. I do
Okay,
have a
yeah, sounds good.
website.
Very
All
interesting.
of the artists are portrayed, and so please visit and look at my art, and come see me at the Bloomz art show. And now we want to find out more about Joan and Joan the. And
Is that the time?
do you want to tell us, first of all, about the types of artwork that you do?
I have done quite a lot of different things from oils, and started to mess about with pastels and finding my way around of whatever. But really, my material of choice is watercolor. So I would say that I tend to gravitate towards watercolor because I just love the unpredictability of it, really. In some ways, I think in a sense I have a love-hate relationship with it, because like you said in your earlier comments, with acrylics or with oils, if it doesn't look right, you can just paint over it and do something else. But with watercolor and ink, I use ink as well, and I use really high quality. Both, I'm very much into top quality, so it's a high quality paper that I use. Same with the paint. I use artist quality paint, so it costs quite a bit of money for a tiny bit of paint. So you just think, oh, you don't want to ruin it. So I always find when I start on a painting, it is a journey, a roadmap where I know that the map is where I want to get to, because I'm trying to create a painting of a beautiful animal, because you just celebrate animals, the animal kingdom. So that's the map. But in getting to the actual image, it's, as I say, it's like as if you take off. For me anyway, I'm taking off on this journey thinking this is where it's going to go, and then suddenly the paint will fly off somewhere else, and it's like, hey, I thought I was going this place, but now I've ended up heading off somewhere else. And that can be, as it's probably termed, I know I've heard a lot of people say, it can be a happy little accident. Because again, like this journey, if you were to go on a journey and you know where your destination is, and then you go, oh, hold on, I think, sat-nav sent us down this way. You can either end up in a quagmire, or you could see maybe a beautiful lake at the end of it and think, oh yeah, hey, this is nice, let's just stop here for a second. And I think that's kind of how my journey is when it comes to a painting. So I have this really love-hate desperation when I create a picture, because it's scary. I look at a blank piece of paper, and going back to paying quite a bit of money for this, high quality stuff, you want to make sure that it's going to work. But then you just know that you have to just let the process happen, because all the time that I sort of try and hold back this crazy animal, crazy journey, the more I hold back, it's really strange how that actually comes out in the painting. And and then it's, I say, if I end up down the wrong road, it's pretty horrible. Especially if I think, oh my gosh, I'm just going to start again. So that's really my battle when it comes to creating a picture. And I think, what the hell am I doing this for? Sometimes I do. I think, why am I doing this? And then the absolute joy when I do get to the end where it has turned out the way I wanted it to. And then even more so, the joy of handing it over to somebody who has fallen in love with it. So so that's sort of the way I look at it, is that's my journey to that point, and then it just goes and it carries on, and I've had a bit of a story to it, which may or may not be the story that somebody else relates to, but it goes on and it's their story, and who knows where it goes. Well, it just carries on.
I don't know how many people who buy art and look at art actually can know about the struggles of the artist in making the art, but your insight in terms of that it comes through in the painting is definitely true. And you have some wonderful work and some wonderful animals.
Thank you.
You also have this connection, which I just really recently found out, with the music. And I know that you're a storyteller. Plus, you come from Ireland originally, and you now live in the United Kingdom. So I, talk about all of that in terms of your journey.
Oh, okay. Well, I suppose a lot of people say to me, because my married name is Wallington, my husband's name, but the name of my business is Joan Kennedy Artist. I call it Joan Kennedy Artist instead of just Joan Kennedy, because Joan Kennedy is a famous American name. She was married to to the Kennedys over there. And in order to try and get the Google ranking, if you put in Joan Kennedy, you won't find me. Even putting Joan Kennedy artist, she's the Kennedys take over. But the reason I picked the name as opposed to the painter or whatever, the artist or whatever it is because in my early 20s, when I kind of started doing oil paintings, and when I was probably in my late teens, funny enough, and I then just did it for a hobby, and I worked, as I probably told you before, I worked down in the docks, down at the end of Dublin docks in imports and exports in shipping. And hi, Angela, or Angela. See, these names, Angela would look like to be Angel. Hello, Angel. Yeah, I worked down in the docks, and the paintings that I did, people just said, oh, they want to buy them. So I sold well over 50 paintings. I remember counting it up one day, about 55 paintings. And so that's why I thought I'm going to keep the name when I moved over here to the UK. So so that's how. I know I painted oils over there, and I don't even know. I wish I had recorded the moment that I started going down the route of watercolor. I don't know. I can't remember how it happened. It just happened one day, really. So it's important to keep a diary.
Yeah. It is amazing how watercolor, for some, it's the first. Well, besides crayon, it's usually what you give kids. At least we got watercolor. And then it's also known amongst people that want to take up painting and wonder which medium they should be using. It's known as the most difficult one because
it is.
Even though it's quite simple, it's almost like a language. It's very tricky, as you already mentioned. So where does the storytelling and you've done all these other projects in terms of children's books come in?
Well, I won an award through the Arts Council. Going back quite a few years now. Because through my music, doing the music, Little Hands music that I was doing these classes, and because Arts Council deal with both art and music and that kind of thing. And so I put a proposal in and said I wanted to create a book, but it wasn't just to be a book. I wanted to do a children's book, but it wasn't to be just a book, so to speak. I wanted a bit more than that. So I wanted to put in some music notes into it, some traditional nursery rhymes, because nursery rhymes are great for children to help them with their speech and language skills. And if they can sing, that really helps. And I thought, well, if I can have the music in there and they're learning, because I'm really passionate about my music side as well. And if they're learning to play an instrument, particularly like a piano, where they end up using two sides of the brain, the left and the right, when you're playing a piano, that they could play the music. And if they have a young child and they're that bit older, the book can be used for two different age groups. So it's something that's going to last. So that was my thinking behind it. And so I applied for this grant and they thought, yes, fantastic, go ahead. And they helped me with the money. I was able to go and learn about what you need to do to write a book. So that's how I created the Scruffy Dog story. And it's the first one of 10 books, but it took me 2 years to do that book because I did all the illustrations as well. And I think it took so long, this book, the Scruffy Dog story, it took as long as it did because of the lack of self-belief. Because it was like, oh, nobody's going to read it. Who the heck would want it? Nobody probably bothered. And I had to sort of keep pushing through it and trying to get the belief that actually I need to do that. So that was my first book. My second book, which I have to come up with a title, and
I want to throw in here. It's like it's got lots of editions already, right? There's a big demand.
It has. Yeah, it has 2 ebooks with it, 2 downloadable ebooks. Because, as I say, from my background of helping parents with their child's development, my firm, passionate belief is that children learn through fun, just like adults. We all learn through fun. And the music I've created is all upbeat and it's just for fun. So it's just helping parents with that side of it. But then there is a colouring book in it as well. So kids so it's kind of helping both. It's helping parents and helping children. And each page of the book is a picture, and each picture is a story in its own way. And it's just sort of giving suggestions. It's not saying do this, do this. A bit like with art, people can't really tell you how to paint. It's something that they can say, well, maybe try this or that, but you're the artist, and they're the parent. So my second book,
right, the educational aspects I was going to mention, there is the artistic, and so it's really an art book as well. And so to have this, total package basically is wonderful, and so the art that you're currently painting, and I know you're about to tell us about the second book or the next book that you're working on, but is that available for sale too, the originals of those, or prints?
You mean, well, I'm working on the second book. Right. So I hope to have that. Should I even say it? I hope to have it out for Easter. And I think the first book was the lack of self-belief that I could do it. And the second book is that I need to just get on and finish it, and
it's an incredible amount of work. You've currently frozen on my screen, so I'm not sure if you're going to come back. But I think you're frozen and I can no longer hear you. But...
Right, we are now live. Apologies, everybody who has been listening to us. If you can message us in the chat, I do apologise, but my electricity went off. So I've just paid the electricity bill, so we don't have to sit in candlelight. So that's why everything went down. So
and I yes, as a soloist, but I didn't know what was going on.
So yes, so we are here. So I think the last thing you were asking me, Renate, was about my children's book. So yes, it's unfortunately I can't remember how far we got about it, but yes, that book took me well over 2 years because of, I suppose, the lack of self-belief, thinking anybody would want to read it and whatever. But then I've been so busy since then with my second book, because I've been so busy with my art, because on various different exhibitions to China. That's why that's kind of taken a back seat. But
tell me about the Chinese connection, just real brief.
Oh, okay. Right. Well, I was going to say the second book, hopefully, all been well, I'm aiming to try and have it out for Easter, and the images. I think I was saying to you that yes, I will be doing limited edition this time, limited edition prints from some of the images of the mouse book. I'm going to keep it really special, where I'll probably limit it to maybe just five limited editions from that. But yeah, so that's that. And then yes, my art, I exhibited in China again in September. Had more or less a solo exhibition. But yeah, I have exhibited, I've lost count now, 4 times, I think. Yeah, 4 times in China, and 3 of them I was there myself, and the last time I was represented. But the connection there is that I was basically selected as one of 6 businesses in the whole of the UK to go on an export mission to China, which was just incredible. So I went to a place called Hangzhou and did this massive exhibition in Creative Expo that they have every September. It's been just incredible, and I'm amazed and just so delighted and thrilled to say that I do have a following now. That last September, somebody came back to the exhibition, and they bought a second original piece of art from that exhibition. It's been incredible. The time before that, I ended up having a sellout. I brought these were really big pieces as well. I had I think it was 6 or 7 pieces that this gallery, this amazing gallery, I mean, good grief, the Funner Art, it's called. And he came along, he said, yeah, I want to buy, he bought the whole wall, bar one painting. There was one painting he didn't buy, which I've actually sold last week. So, it's been really an incredible journey, and I'm so grateful, really.
Yeah, and this is, seems simple, but logistically it's very complicated. It takes a lot of your time. You had to, this time around, you weren't able to go, obviously, and you had to ship everything and, trust this one person. But you sent us a link once where I did see all these wonderful paintings being displayed in a beautiful lighted setting. And there were just rows of people, and they're talking, and it must be so exciting. I mean, you don't understand, but they are looking at your artwork, and that's beautiful.
It's just it's a dream. It's like a dream come true. I've had, it's been, I've met when I'm over there, I've gone to Hangzhou and I've gone to Ningbo. They're 2 different places, and I've met all the government officials. They've come around and were introduced to me. And you'd have, there was like very specific cameras allowed to come in. And I'd had like 100 people around me taking photographs. You feel like it's a feeling of being a film star. Really, it's a sense.
Well, you are.
And I couldn't get these pictures. I'd love to have them myself, but because these were official government bodies, I can't have them. And then I won an award when I was over there in Ningbo, and I didn't even realize I had won the award. And I came with my daughter, and she it was just a lovely experience just to have her there with me, because I wanted her to feel. And they said to her, we want you to collect this award. And I thought it was for the whole group, because there was, on that trip, there was I think 7 other businesses. One of them was a woodcutter. It was incredible, really. And so I thought she was collecting the award on behalf of everybody. And then to hear my name getting called out, and that it's and hearing somebody Chinese saying my name, it's like, just what did that, is that happening? That really happened. It was probably one of the most special moments of my career, I have to say.
That's wonderful.
And to just see my daughter up there collecting it, and absolutely, must have been about 1,000 people there looking, and hundreds of cameras, and going on we were on the news over there, and I've been on the radio, and mics just put in my hand, and they're just clicking away, and you think it's really interesting, because I am considered like quite famous in that setting, but it is such an interesting feeling, because you think to yourself, wow, how amazing and all, but after like a couple of days of constantly getting your photograph taken, I just realized how much my privacy means that I don't want to be, if I'm going to be famous, I don't need, you know, I don't do my art to be famous. You know, I do it for the love of it and the love of my family, and you know, just for the pleasure that it gives people. But I don't really need the fame for me. That's you know, but it's interesting, very interesting, nice to have a taste of it. But you know, I'm just glad I'm not the Queen or somebody who can't really go out the door without having a camera stuffed in their face.
You're practicing being the Queen.
Oh gosh, Queen, yeah, I don't know.
So I guess just to summarize, I think we may want to cut things a little short here, or long. And for this exhibit, you're going to obviously have some artwork there. I think you mentioned something about working on your second children's book, and you're hoping that it might be ready by Easter. And so people can come and talk to you about that as well if they want to. And you're also working on a zebra painting.
I'm not sure if did I show you. I'm not sure now if I showed you that on our first or whether we got cut off, but just in case that we haven't, you say zebra, I say zebra, zebra. That is the plan. I'm gonna hold on, that is the photograph I'm working from. But as I said before, that this art is very much a love-hate. It can go one way or the other, and I realized once I start drawing this today that I've really given myself one hell of a challenge. I don't quite know how I'm going to do this, so I cannot guarantee if it'll turn up. If it turns up on the night, then great. If it doesn't, then it's probably been just a practice and it's ended up in the bin.
It's a very exciting project, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think in preparation for this, I like to think about and get artists to think about sort of the three big streams, undercurrents that influence their art making and what they like to make their subject matter. So I ask people, you know, what 3 words or so describe an artist's work. And I don't know, did you think about that at all? Do you have some words?
No, I don't. For me, I'm afraid, Renate, one thing I will be known for is I'm just a practical artist. There's no, you know, no woo-woo with me, really. I don't come up with words. I just, my words is my colors, my art.
So from what I learned today about you, you know, there's definitely character development of animals. I mean, that's your storytelling as well. Storytelling is one of them. There's the representation, you know, the skill of the watercolor. And it's splashy and fresh and colorful. I mean, those are all adjectives. Plus, you're such a sparkling personality. Sometimes very subtle humor, sometimes very open and in your face. It's wonderful.
Oh. I'm just while you're on there, I was just checking because we don't seem to have any comments coming in. So I just wanted to see, because I know the funny part of all is that the last 15 minutes we've been chatting away, thinking that we were live. And in fact,
the confirmation part is up above. It says live 11:20. So we've been on for 11:20, 11 minutes 20 seconds. And so I think this one worked out for us. And,
you know what it is? I know. Apologies. You know what it is? You see, this is a real big learning thing, but I hadn't clicked the comments. I did a private chat. So, Fiona has said, wow, the China exhibition sounds. Yes, Fiona was commenting about my Chinese exhibitions. It was just amazing. I also exhibited in Prague. I keep forgetting to mention that one. I went to, the British Embassy in Prague. And I was exhibiting my work there. That was the very first event that I went to for like it was for 3 days, and I managed to briefly see what Prague was like. I'd love to go back and see that.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, it was incredible to go into the British embassy and see that. Right. But oh yeah, so somebody says they like the zebras. Yeah. Well, I have to say, yeah, I like the zebras. I like the zebras. This one, I'm not so sure how. I've gone as far as this. I've got. I don't know if you can see it. It's drawn out. But after that, then the problem is, I spend absolute blooming hours drawing something out, and then I'll go and put paint on it, and I won't see what the hell I've done with the drawing.
Yes. The difficulties of the artist. Yeah. So we did want to encourage people to register early for the 29th and 30th Bloomz Art House event, where everybody will have an opportunity to meet us again and talk with us. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the comments, and I think we'll get notified and keep an eye on so we can answer some of your questions there as well.
Absolutely. I'll just finally see what other messages do we have coming in. I don't think we do. I think probably everybody's gone for their dinner or their tea. It's 5:30 here. So what time is it where you are now, Renate?
It is 1:31 in the afternoon.
Oh,
you
go
in the sun.
Yeah, you can go for your lunch and I'm going for dinner.
Yes.
I think this is the other thing that we must let people know is what the wonderful thing is, because it's such an international artist, all international artists. We have one fabulous artist from Australia. There's one fabulous artist from Italy, and there's a whole gang of artists from the UK. Fabulous. And then, of course, there's not just yourself in Canada. We've got 2 Canadian artists, isn't that right?
Right. One in New Brunswick, one in Ontario. And yes, I mean, we're an international group and we live in 5 time zones. And, if you imagine this coordination, it's just been amazing. So this is an amazing group of artists. It's an amazing event. Stephanie, our technical leader and artist, fiber artist, have just done an outstanding job, and we're just we can encourage everybody to join us and take part of this wonderful event. Anyway, we'll say goodbye.